Uh,
Start hearing that song in my sleep, Lyle.
yeah, I know, man, but it's working for us. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Yeah, guess what, bud?
What's that?
It's officially fall.
I'm so happy about
Me
that.
too,
I
actually.
really am. I that's one of my favorite times of the year. Spring being another. Um, I didn't used to mind winter. I don't really like cold anymore, and I hate hot weather. But if the fish are biting, I can make myself work through it.
Yeah, yeah. And another good thing about it is I'm going fishing tomorrow. First time in about 2.5 or almost 3 weeks now. So I'm looking forward to that.
I'm bad as I hate to. I'm going to say I'm going to go in the morning.
Yeah, I think you might. You know, fall, all these people like this, pumpkin spice that, pumpkin
Yeah,
bread this. I don't mind pumpkin bread. I don't mind pumpkin pie. But it's not my favorite. But this time of year, we got a place here that makes fresh, hot apple cider donuts. Oh, my goodness.
that sounds pretty tasty, actually.
It doesn't get any better than that. Josh.
He's just mean. Just
Josh says,
mean.
man who lives in the North Pole doesn't like cold weather. I'm calling BS. What's
He's
going
full of
on, Josh?
crapola. If you've seen the image and the stuff that he sent me today, you would understand about me thinking he might be full of himself.
Well, I made that off-colored comment to him in privacy, and he kind of ratted me out for super chats on Monday's show. So
Oh, it was so funny. Really
it was
was.
pretty funny, though. I don't think the crowd minded too much. I think
No, they ate it up. They really
they're not
did. Of course,
they're
the
not.
crowd that night was a little.
It was a rowdy show. It gets that way every now and then.
It does. It really does. But
What kind of weather? Since it's fall, let's talk about weather like we never do.
yeah,
What you got there, Lyle, today?
70s today. It was a low of like 64, I think, when I was out fishing. Which to me, that's still shorts and t-shirt weather. Um, it's going to be around that in the morning tomorrow, but tomorrow morning it's going to be in the low 50s, so it'll be a little cooler. I hope that don't shut the fish off. We've been having a lot of fronts move through, and we've been getting a lot of rain, 3 or 4 inches
Mhm.
in the last week, uh, and it changes the way the fish work. They move in and out of deeper water, back into the shallow, and sometimes you can cast them, sometimes you can find them, sometimes they're a little harder to find, but they don't go very far. They just go. I think what they do now. This is just my opinion. I have no way of proving it, but I think they look for a comfort zone. When you get up from dinner and you're uncomfortably because you're full, and you go and sit down on the couch and you watch TV or your recliner, you're finding your comfort zone.
Mhm.
When the weather changes and the water temperature changes, whether it go up or down, I think they go find their comfort zone. Whatever is the spot. If it's deeper water, I think they go to find deeper water. Um, and if it's if that's too cold for them, they'll go move up to shallow. The other thing they do is they follow shad. I have actually been watching crappie jump out of the water chasing shad. When the shad hit the top water, you know how they flip? These guys are jumping out of the water and grabbing them little suckers. And they're catching ones about this long, and they're filling up, man. They really are. So
they're feeding up for winter. I mean, we
yep.
got the fall tour, fall turn happening here where the water's turning over. Weeds are going to start dying here soon. So, I mean, today we had, mid 70s for a high. Right now we're looking at, Josh just texted me, Josh, better you had to deal with that than me.
Yeah.
I'm looking at 67 now. Tomorrow morning, I am going up the Wisconsin River to fish. And weather app's telling me it's going to be 50 degrees when I get up there. Only thing is they just recently changed the forecast to sunny. So we'll see how that affects it. I've heard a lot of good things. That's why I'm going up there. They say the crappie are still on fire, and they say the panfish turned on. So I'm hoping to do a meat run. I'm going with my buddy Tony. I'll go live tomorrow. I have a live set up on my channel. Go there, turn on the bell notification. I don't know exactly what time we'll go live. Usually I like to find the fish if they're there to be found before I go live, and I just do it that way. So if you guys are interested in watching, I'll be live tomorrow morning sometime. Hopefully, if there's nothing biting, it could happen too. I mean, this drastic change, it's gone from 80s to 50s at night. So, all right, well, Josh.
It's an inside joke, folks. You probably won't get it, but I know what he means. And so
I know exactly what he means if that has to do with his text. So,
I've been struggling with something I wanted to share with you, Mike, before we get really involved in what we've
Chad,
been
you've been
tonight.
struggling with Chad. I understand.
No, well, not so much.
Hopefully he's watching from Florida if he's still out there.
I hope he is. I hope he's having a good time down there. I know he's working, but you can have a good time working. I am not a knife sharpener. I really am not. And I suck at it. My dad tried to teach me, and my brother tried to teach me. YouTube videos seem to get through to me better than either one of them did. But I'm looking at some knife sharpening things that I think will help me with that. But I have a whetstone here that my dad, it's like a hone stone. He had it when I was growing up. Wasn't allowed to touch it because he's afraid I'd screw it up, But it's real old in a wooden box, and I finally got the hang of using it the other day, and I actually put a pretty good edge on a couple of my fillet knives. But I'm telling you, if you fillet a lot of fish, you better keep them touched up, because once they get dull, they're hard to get sharp, dude.
You got to take a lot of metal off a blade once it gets really dull. That's the hard part.
Right.
Now, I'm pretty good at getting, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I'm pretty good at getting knives razor sharp. I can do it. Now, as far as fillet knives go, I like to buy like cheap Rapala knife with cheap, carbon steel, and get one of those quick sharpeners. And I keep one of them there once I get a good edge going. Every couple of fish, run it through there a couple of times, rinse it off with the knife when you're done. And that usually does the job. Now I have the Work Sharp electric knife sharpener.
Yeah.
I have the Work Sharp. I forget what the name of that system is that Chris over at Hooks and Hammocks did a video on. I have that. That does an okay job, but I'll tell you what, for simplicity and for a razor sharp edge, I use the Spyderco Sharp Maker. And basically what this is, it's stones, but they're in a V. That's basically all it is. It's as simple as it gets.
Just for keeping it sharp once you get it
sharp.
No.
I got 3 sets of different grates in there, and you can get them pretty sharp if you're willing to work at it. It takes a little bit of time, but while you're watching Richard Jean hook up bass like I was watching today, he was on the bass. I know you guys don't like bass, but no. It was a pretty good video. It was catching with live shad, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Looked like a fun video. I'll do that and service other equipment that I carry with me daily while I'm doing it. So it's all a part of it. I'll have my, I'm a big proponent of the Spyderco knives. I carry like a paramilitary 2, which is probably best pocket knife you can carry, to be honest. That and my Buck 110, those are my 2 go-tos. But I'll know when they get nor when they need sharpening. So I'll hit them on that, and it's quick and easy, and you can get it so sharp that I got to warn people when I hand them that knife. So
Yeah, that's why my brother used to keep his. But my brother was a sewing machine mechanic for years and years and years. And when parts for sewing machine would get obsolete, they'd have to make them. So he was actually a machinist along with that, and he had the equipment and buffing wheels and all kinds of crapola to make a sharp, just scary, a knife, scary sharp. And I just could never get the hang of it. But I've been watching some stuff and I've got it to where I've figured it out. But they make some of these new systems that are manual. I looked at the electric ones and I think that would probably be the safest thing for me to do. But these
mhm.
others have got stones that you and I think one of those is probably what I'm going. I used to have a similar thing to what I'm looking at, but it was a lot smaller and cheaper. And I want something when you're filleting 15, 20 fish a day, you need to have something where you're keeping them knives sharp because you can go so much faster. And I got an electric knife, and I know people talk about, oh, you go so fast with that. I can do a crappie fillet a crappie, an average size crappie, 8, 9 inch, in about 45 seconds now. So if I get a sharp knife, it won't make me any slower. That's for damn sure.
I have electric knife. I've gotten into the habit of filleting both sides of the fish. If we know what we're talking about, that's an inside joke. Um, and I got the Rapala lithium cordless, which I use a lot. But I bought that panfish blade that was mentioned. I believe you guys talked about that. The panfish blade, which is a really thin one that goes right into the knife. It also accepts the Mr. Twister blades, which are pretty famous for probably being one of the best electric blade inserts you can get. I've never used Bubba knives, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I
But
don't
that
do it.
Rapala I got for a gift for Christmas, and I use the heck out of that. I use it for everything from the king salmon that we caught, the cohos, walleye, and panfish. So I like using that because I can zip through them and get them done. I mean, we've talked about how we're not the biggest fans of cleaning fish, so the sooner I get it done, the better. And it does a
Exactly.
good enough. It does a good enough job too. I'll even argue with you that an electric knife is probably better for doing catfish than a regular knife, at least for taking the skin off, because it's a lot easier to leave that eighth of an inch of meat on the skin, of flesh on the skin, to try and get that muddy taste and the fat and the bloodline off of there. It just works better for me. So
Yeah.
there's
Well,
my
and
rant on fillet knives.
that's like uh choosing what kind of stuff you want to catch fish with. Personal preferences and things that you're confident in goes a long way in catching fish,
Yep.
and it goes a long way in cleaning fish. So
Real quick, Elsa's got a question. She said, Elsa says, should I be using live bait this time of year, or will jigs still work? Jigs will still work. Live bait works. Sometimes one will work when the other doesn't. You just got to try them. Me, I always have worms in my boat as of lately, and I start off with plastics and sometimes mix in some hand ties with that, and that works for me. So
I got to tell you, Mark, I haven't used any. I haven't used a minnow in I can't tell you how many years.
yeah.
Hand ties and plastics has been doing. I've been doing really well with both. I got some baits the other day that Leslie Bacon from Little Miss Bacon Baits sent me. They come in Monday, and I took those out yesterday. And man, did they slayed fish. They done really well. If you guys haven't checked out Leslie's website, you need to go do that. She's got some new stuff coming out. I have some of it. I tried it out today. I sent her, shot some video of the action of these things. If she hasn't got it posted, she will be getting it edited because I just shot it on my phone. Um, Amazing. The colors are great, and I tore them up with them yesterday because she sent them to me to test for her,
Hmm.
and well, I'm happy to do that because I like to try new stuff out. But um, I think I caught 45. I don't remember exactly, but it was 40 something. And there was two guys sitting right close to where I was at, and they was catfishing. And one of them had a crappie rod, and he'd throw it out 3 or 4 times. He didn't catch that. He'd set it back down, catfish some more. They didn't catch any catfish. Uh, And he told me, he said, "Man, I fished up here several times with guys crappie fishing." He said, "I ain't never seen nobody catch crappie like that." I said, "Hell, buddy, this is a slow day." He said, "What kind of baits are you using?" And I give him some of them, and I said, "Try these." And he still never caught no fish. But he said, "I got to get some of them." I said, "Well, Leslie Bacon, just go to her website, Little Miss Bacon Baits," and I wrote it down for him on a business card. And I said, "Here you go. Get a hold of her and tell her that you saw me catching these fish up here." So I told her, and she thought it was funny. And but yeah,
Let me read Josh's comment real quick, and then we'll welcome
I'm
everybody.
afraid of that.
No, Josh says, let the fish tell you what they want. Never heard to tip jigs either. 100%. My grandfather used to tell me all the time, give the fish what they want, plain and simple.
100% correct. Now, the guy that caught the fish that come to the dock where we was at today, he was tipping his with crappie niblets or something of that sort. I don't use those, but he was using them, and he didn't catch very many fish, but he did catch a 13 and a half. So
nice.
Yeah, I didn't get that one. I wished I had it, but I was happy that he got it. He's a really nice guy, and so yeah.
All right, let's welcome everybody in. We got a bunch of people in chat. Benoit Fishing Outdoors. What's up, ladies? How you doing? There's our buddy Greg Burgess. Hopefully it's starting to cool down by you. There's channel supporter Joe Buck 66. How you doing, Joe? P&B Catfish. What's up, Paul? How you doing? Schmieder of the Cedars in the house. There's Josh, the weekend angler. I saw Cindy Stokes in there too earlier. We got Elsa. She's a new one here. Let's see if I missed any. River Rat 3030 was in here. Uptown Chrissy Brown was the first one in tonight. Yep. Thank you, Miss Chrissy, as always. I think I got everybody covered. Cindy Stokes. V was in here. If she's still here. How you doing, V? Make sure you check out her Golden Whiskers show every Thursday at 8 p.m. If I'm not mistaken. Let me know if that changes. So.
Yeah, that's I believe that's what it is. I was her guest on last week. Had a great time with her and Andrew. We had a really fun show, and if you guys haven't tuned in, if you are a cat fisherman, you need to support these Golden Whisker Awards, because if you like watching videos, you need to help promote these guys that are spending their time to do it, and that's the best way I know of to promote them is to nominate them for awards. If it's your favorite guy or somebody you just like a certain video that somebody did, jump in there, both feet, get it done, because it'll be time for the award show before you know it.
We even got nominated, didn't we, Lyle, for the cooking video? That was pretty cool. All right, Josh, let's Josh came up with something. I want to explain it to him. He says, I like Mark's theory on crappie nibbles, bite versus snag. All right, my theory is, and I'm pretty sure that it is, if the crappie nibble's still on that hook when you reel it in and you thought you got a bite, you were snagged on a weed or something.
I agree.
100%. If the crappie nibble's gone, you probably got a bite. That's my theory. So take it for what it's worth, but I do believe that. I figured
I believe it 100%. I have them, but I can't tell where they oh, hey. I meet a lot of people.
Saying hello to Elsa. He says, I met Lyle at Honeywell. I was fishing with my kids. Yeah, he told us about you guys, so that's cool to know.
Absolutely did. Thank you for coming in and joining the show tonight. We appreciate it very much, and I really enjoy seeing them kids out fishing like that, and it makes it really nice when they come into the shows and see what we're doing. But yeah, it's a lot of fun visiting with them, and I think I told you last week, Mark, I had a little young man, his dad, the dad wasn't a fisherman. He admitted it, and the boy wanted to catch fish, and we spent time making sure that he got to reel some in that day, and it was a lot of fun. That's kind of what I do. I usually give people baits and stuff to help them out if they're struggling or whatever. And sometimes if plastics are working, they're going to get plastics. If hand ties are working, they're getting hand ties. And some people just want the hand ties; they don't want the plastics. They can buy them. But it is what it is. We just want to help people catch more fish. That's what we do.
Speaking of which, Lyle, I got called out by a buddy of mine says that, oh, we're going to catch fish. You got all them electronics on your boat. It got me to thinking I can still catch fish without electronics. So I told him, I kind of fibbed to him, told him we weren't going to use them tomorrow, right? So I got to thinking maybe we should do the show tonight talking about how to use your eyes and your ears and you know, I can smell flatheads and your nose to catch fish.
I can smell copperhead snakes. I'll tell you that.
Ooh.
They stink. You can smell them. If you smell one that smells like an old nasty, dirty penny, been in a box for a long time, you better be looking for it because it's around.
I don't think I've ever seen a copperhead snake in real life, but that wouldn't be the first. I've seen water moccasins and water snakes, stuff like that, gardeners. But other than that, that's about it. So I figure we could talk about no electronics fishing and locating fish while doing that. And
absolutely.
I'll start off here with the first thing I do when I get up in the morning. Like this is absolutely 100% no joke, no lie or whatever. Tomorrow morning I will get up. I'll be up at about 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock to make it down there. I'll let the dog. I will be up. I will let the dogs out to before I leave. I always do that. It's just the right thing to do when you own dogs. But anyways, I'll keep an eye out to see what's going on outside. If they go out there and they go to chase a rabbit down, that tells me that the rabbits are out feeding, they're being active. When I'm driving to the fishing spot, I keep an eye on the road. I look for squirrels. I look for deer on the side of the road, animals, birds, all sorts of stuff. Because if animals are active on land, they're probably going to be active in the water. I'm a firm believer that
I believe you're 100% correct with that, Mark.
So that's like the first thing I'm looking for. Once we figure out if we're going to have a good day or a bad day, sometimes you'll see all sorts of stuff and have a rough day. Sometimes you'll see nothing and have a good day. It's not a foolproof thing, but I really believe that there is related. So Josh says he doesn't kill any snakes. If you see snakes, proceed with caution. Danny Stone just got bit by a snake.
Yeah, he did. They better not come too close to me. I can just tell you that right now. I don't care what snake, whose snake, if it belongs to somebody or not. If it comes towards me, I have the artillery to take care of them at hand, most always. So I don't like them. They don't like me. Even if they do, I don't care.
Now, they don't bother me too much. I don't mind them. I've never been bit by one either. So
me either, and I don't plan on them.
But I do know that they do have a smell to them. A buddy of mine, he raises snakes, and actually my cousin's husband raises some pythons and stuff, and he's got a shed, a separate building he raises them in that's heated, the whole deal. And yeah, they have they smell pretty bad. They don't smell good. Josh says copperhead can smell like fresh cut cucumber. Smelled it in the garage once last fall. Found one behind the deep freeze. Caught him and relocated him to the woods by the house.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
I could use one, my deck box. I got a plastic deck box right outside the door here, and there's some sort of rodent chewing its way through the plastic. When I had that dachshund, we never had a problem with that. These dogs, not so much rabbit or mouse chasers.
Yeah, I don't. Usually when I have something that's getting chewed up like that, it's usually a squirrel, but it could be other things. But squirrels will chew up almost anything that's around there.
Benoit Fishing Outdoors says, I've been bit by plenty and still don't mind them. We have a ball python, but he's never bit me. Caitlin wants to pet a snake. Greg will keep you in our thoughts.
Snake.
Greg says, Mark, next 2 days, I see a heart doctor and a back doctor. Hopefully it comes, you get good news and everything. There's Ernie Brown.
Hope you do real well with that.
Hey, Lyle, copperheads smell like cucumbers when they're mad. Ooh.
They don't get mad around me but once. And fact, if they just go on, I won't bother them. But if they don't take off, they don't last long.
Here, Lyle, read this one right there. Who's that from?
I want nothing to do with no rapes, no snakes is what I'm guessing.
What? How do you read that name?
Elsa. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Oh, forgive him.
Yeah, you have to because I'm not real good with names.
So, all right, back to the topic at hand because we wander off all the time.
We do.
We do. That's no big deal. It's our show.
No,
We do what we want.
that's right.
All right. Next thing I'm doing is I'm looking to the banks, Lyle. Definitely looking to the banks. I'm looking for steep ledges, cliffs. I mean, looking for flat spots because pretty much what you're seeing above the water on the banks it continues into the water.
That's
So
right.
that'll give you an idea of what you're fishing. If you are seeing trees overhead, chances are that there's some roots that come out into the water. If you're seeing fallen trees, obviously that's good structure, but we'll get to structure next. Things like that. If you see a rocky bank, you know that it's going to probably be rocky right at the ledge there. Fish can hide in there. That's a good place to start. Things like that I'm checking out. What are you looking at when you look to the banks, Lyle? That's no joke, Chrissy.
She knows us too well.
I mentioned shrimp wrapped bacon, and we're really in trouble.
Man, that's really good. Shrimp wrapped bacon is awesome.
How you doing, Mike? What's going on?
Good to see Mike made it in tonight.
Ernest River Rat 3030 says, "Oh yeah, bank fishing is the best, Mark. Better than them boat people laughing out loud."
Stop it. Ernest does really well from the bank. I got to give him that.
He does. How you doing, Heather? What's going on?
Definitely.
If you have a lot of bank places you can fish. Actually, last night we'll go off topic real quick. Me and Lyle were having a chat talking about this stuff and talking about the show and things like that. And I kind of walked him through like 40 miles of the river that I fish. And
very interesting too.
It took 40 miles of river for me to show him what, 8 bank spots?
Probably.
Yeah, pretty much. So that goes to show you how many bank spots are available to me.
And that depends on every body of water too. Now, the little conservation lake that I've been fishing, you can walk. They even got a parking lot by the dam on this lake, and you can walk all the way up and down it. And people do. And they catfish and they bass fish and they crappie fish all along through there. They catch tons of bluegill. I can't walk it. It's a little too steep and there's too many weeds and I don't want chiggers, but, and I can't walk it. I don't want to walk it far. I take too much crap with me when I go because I might want to try something out or change out what I'm doing. But, a lot of people do that. And, that makes that place unique because they also have free boat rentals where you can get in their boat so you don't have to pay for it. You can oar yourself around or bring your own trolling motor battery and hook it up on there. And that's really cool.
Yep, and that was one of the things we talked about last night. We're here on at McHenry Dam. The place you can bank fish is super shallow. We're talking a foot at the most. But they rent rowboats there, and I was telling Lyle, the smart guys will pay the $10 to rent the rowboat, and they'll paddle it across the river to the other side where there's like a 20-foot hole. They'll bank that boat over there, and they'll always get on a bunch of good channel cats in that spot. So, worth the price of admission, if you ask.
Yeah, for $10, that's not so bad. Oh, pardon me. The other thing I have at this place is free camping. If you have a camper or you want a tent or however you camp, I mean it's primitive, no electricity, but it's free. How many things in life is actually free anymore?
I was going to say I can't even launch my boat for free, to be honest. Anyway,
that's right.
Tomorrow I'm going to have to pay $8, which is nothing compared to up here. Thank goodness for I got to plug JT over at Port Barrington Marina for sponsoring me. I get a free launch from him. But if it wasn't for that, he charges $20 to launch there, just like everybody else.
Wow.
Ernest says, Mark, I fish one spot about 90% of the time. That's a good spot. You must get them coming and going, Ernest.
He does.
There.
He knocks them out there.
All right. So On the water, we talked a little bit about what to look for at the bank. I think you pretty much agreed what I said, right?
Absolutely.
Then you're looking into the water, and I'm looking for what? Weeds next. How about you, Lyle?
Yes, sir. Weeds, stick ups, anything close to the bank that grows from the bottom up is your friend.
And if it's windy outside, the weeds don't even have to stick up out of the water. If it's windy outside, you'll notice a difference in the chop on top of the water. If it's heavily weeded, you'll have less chop and chop going around it. Look behind weeds. If it's like a mat of weeds that's not connected to the bank line, you can do really good fishing right behind them. A lot of times, if you see the tall weeds coming out of the water, there'll be fish hiding in there, guaranteed, almost all the time. If you can find the edge of the weeds, there's always fish that'll dart out of the weed line to get baits as they come by, because most fish are opportunistic. I don't care if it's crappie, perch, even bass, if that's your fish of choice. Walleye, definitely. I fish a lot of weed lines. Weed lines are a little bit easier to find with side imaging, but you don't need side imaging to find them. Not at all. Like I said, look, this time of year, the water's starting to clear up. You'll notice lines in the water of where they are. Just keep an eye out for that. Just use your eyes, look and find things. So
that's right. John Parker has joined us. Welcome, John.
How you doing, Mr. Parker? Next thing, we talked about wildlife at the beginning, right, Lyle?
Yes.
On the water, same thing. What's the first thing that you hear a lot of people say? Fish the birds, correct?
That's right.
And why do they say that?
Because they know where the bait's at.
100%.
And where the bait's at, there'll be fish, whether it be any predatory type fish that eats other fish. They're going to eat shad and bluegill and stuff like that. So if you're at a place and there's a whole bunch of birds congregated in an area, you better go over there and fish.
One bird pointed out, and that's the cormorant. People cuss them out, but this year
they know where they're at.
Time and time again, they've showed me where the bait fish are at, and this year was a great example. I pulled up to one of my pond spots to do some bait fishing, and there was one cormorant there, and I've never seen him on this pond. I'm like, well, I wonder what he's eating over there. I toss a bait out there, and I started catching crappie. I've never caught crappie on that pond before in my life, and he pointed out to exactly where they're at, and I've been hitting them ever since. That being said, I don't keep them because it's a suburban pond, and I've gone over my feelings on fertilizer and weed killer and that in the neighborhood that I don't really care to eat water out of, but at least I have fun catching them. And 100%. And if there's no birds, you can still see the bait fish, right, Lyle? What do you look at? How do you see them? How do you see them in the water?
Polarized glasses, and I watch for shad flipping. If the shad's flipping, something's chasing them. That's what's getting them out of the water to flip in where you can see them. And usually it's another fish chasing them. And it's probably not a turtle.
100%. A lot of times you'll see what I call little tracers, like imagine watching Jaws and you see, that fin come out of the water and cause a wake. Well, all fish will make a slight little wake when they're below the water chasing bait fish. So you'll see those too. That's the first thing I'm going to look for in the couple of spots I want to fish tomorrow. Is I'm going to look for the bait fish surfacing 100%. So, and that's just minnows in that river. The main forage is minnows. There's not much shad in that river, if I'm not mistaken, which probably wouldn't be the first time if I am. But I know that the crappie are chasing minnows from the deep to the shallows in the couple of spots that I want to fish, and that's exactly what I'm going to be looking for.
Mark, we was talking about predatory fish chasing shad and making them jump out of the water. As of late, almost every day, I see them crappie come up out of the water enough to get them jumping shad, and they'll grab them. I mean, right in front of where I'm fishing. And I'm thinking, man, they're on fire. And they usually are. When you don't see that, it's usually not as productive day. Not that you don't catch fish, because you still will. But when they're chasing them baits that hard, they're feeding up heavy, and that's the time to catch them.
Benoit Fishing Outdoors says, the little Garmin Striker 4 went with the smaller boat, only use it for temps and depth. but haven't yet put a fish finder on the new one yet. Reading the water is something we both like doing 100%.
Gabby and Allison, if you're able to read the water, that's awesome, because years ago, that's how you fished. If you couldn't read water, you couldn't find fish, or if you didn't follow the birds or something. A lot of people didn't know that back years ago. But the old men that taught guys like me and Mark and stuff like that how to read water, they were experts at it. And if you got a
Mhm.
grandfather or a great grandfather or whatever the case may be, if you know an old guy that's fished his whole life, I guarantee you he can give you pointers on it.
100%. They don't need electronics for sure. I
No,
mean, and if you have the electronics, there's no reason why you can't use what you know, using your senses and your
absolutely.
knowledge base in combination with the electronics to
That's right.
even, raise the probability of getting on fish. I mean,
100%.
yesterday Lyle asked me, he says, you showed me all this river and there's so little fish in there, and we reminded ourselves that 10% of the water holds 100% of the fish.
That's correct. There's a lot.
And we scanned over 40 miles of river real quick. And that definitely proved that. It was probably less than percent of that, but I'm probably missing a lot of spots though. So
One thing is for certain: if you don't get out there and try to find them things, you're not going to. But one of the things that I always try to do is eliminate dead water,
mhm.
non-productive water. If you can eliminate where they're not at, it makes it easier to catch them, because you're going to go someplace where fish are. And right now, folks, is the time. Fish are feeding up. They know what cold weather's coming, and a lot of these fish aren't near as active in the wintertime when the water temperatures get colder. So they're trying to gain weight so they can survive a winter, and they're feeding up, and they're going to be feeding up for some time. So if you get a chance to go out and fish, now is a opportune time to do so.
And keep in mind, everything we're talking about tonight's definitely going to help you all year long.
Yeah,
If you're, if you're not ice fishing, you're fishing open water in the winter, the same thing goes. Keep in mind, like now this time of year, at least in my part of the country, fish are spreading out. But as soon as the water starts getting colder and the weather starts turning, closer to end of fall where it gets a lot colder at night, they'll start grouping up then. But be patient now and keep using all of these tips, and you're definitely going to get on some fish. We're probably telling these people a lot of what they already know, but
yeah,
there
but
are people out
there's
there that
people that don't know. Allison says my grandpa taught me, and Gabby's dad taught her, and now we pick each other's brain out on the water. That's awesome. That's really good. So
Greg says, Mark, I have never had electronics. I would have problems trying to use them, uh, but ready to learn. See, there's a positive attitude
there's
right
a
there.
positive attitude. You got it. Yep.
Then that brings up something that I kind of try to live by. Whether you believe it or not, that's on you guys. But never quit trying to learn.
Oh no, never.
Never ever. Once you do, you're done. You're dead in the water. You're cooked. You don't want to do that. So
That's exactly right. It's so much better off, and it doesn't matter if I go fishing with you tomorrow, or Dockery the next day, or Chad the next day. If you go fishing with somebody that catches fish, they don't have to be the best fisherman in the world, but chances are really good you're going to learn something from everybody you're around. They're going to do something a little different, or easier way than what you're doing it, and they just might know something that you'd never heard of before that'll actually work. So,
mhm.
uh, ears open, mouth shut. A lot of time go a long ways.
Yeah, 100%. And, in this day and age, a lot of younger kids, not that I'm blaming any of you guys here in chat or anything, they think that, Google and YouTube and AI now is all they need, when those answers aren't going to be complete. You're not going to get that interaction with a person. Ask somebody with experience, ask somebody who's older,
That's right.
you're going to learn something. I fish with a few younger guides here, and they're always happy to fish with me because they always tell me that they pick something up that they don't know, which kind of makes me feel good about myself. I'm not trying to brag or anything, but it tells me that all of these years I have picked up something or other. So
Right. And where'd you get most of it?
Time on the water, bud. My
Time on
grandfather,
there
time
you
on
go.
water. One of my mentors, Edward Zink, God rest his soul as well. He taught me a lot. You know, my father wasn't the greatest. He wasn't a big fisherman, but he always took me fishing. He made sure I was doing what I loved to do. So God bless him for that as well.
Absolutely.
I got friends, my buddy Richie. I've been fishing partners with him forever. I got to get him on a live stream, Lyle. He is out of his mind crazy. I might get kicked off of YouTube for the crap he says. He makes Josh look like an amateur.
Oh my.
But anyways, no offense, Josh.
Rams
I
Bait
saw
and Tackle, San Antonio, Texas. Welcome.
What's up, Rams? How you doing? I saw Crappie Day Darren come in too. What's up, Darren? How you doing, bud? I see him over on SK's show after this, or at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time on SK's Crappie Catching Adventure. I think the name of his channel is. Check it out. So,
Josh, you need to meet this man. The old timers can teach you a lot. I learned a lot from a lot of different people over the years, and they always help me. One in particular, and my brother taught me so much, but his father had a boat, and he lived down below the Clarksville Dam, and I would go down there sometimes during the week, sometimes after school, sometimes on the weekends. It didn't really matter. A lot of times he'd be sitting on his front porch listening to the Cardinals. He had a screened in front porch, and he said, "What are you doing down here?" I said, "I want to go fishing." He said, "Well, I'll call over Cooper's. You go buy me a 12-pack and we'll go." But he knew a lot about river currents, and he could tell you about um, uh, rock banks and when the water would come out and eddies and uh, what you do and don't do around the dams. Just a wealth of information, especially when you're in your mid-teens. Um, all you have to do is listen to them guys like that, and you can pick up so much. And he wasn't a big fisherman. Most of the time, he used worms, and sometimes you caught carp and sometimes catfish. But catfish was what we was targeting most of the time. He didn't throw a cast net or none of that stuff, so I learned that later on. But I learned a lot about the river and about wing dikes and how the current flows around them, and that there's a big hole, a scour hole behind them, and so many things about the Mississippi River I picked up from him, and I never will forget things that he done for me over the years. That's just really awesome.
Greg Burgess says, Mark, my dad used to say, if you don't learn something new today, you're not using your head 100%. Now, that being said, Greg did say something too that rings true as well. He was saying that he's willing to learn electronics. So just because you're an old timer like me and Lyle and some of the people in chat doesn't mean that a new person isn't going to be able to teach you something. There's always
That's
new
right.
tactics and new gear that comes along. There's no reason why you can't take advantage of them as well.
That's right.
And Ernest says, always take a kid fishing, 100%.
Yeah, that's cool.
Now, all right, so we went through some of the other stuff. Now let's take a step back to the animals on land and animals and fish in the water. I know a lot of hunters, they fish saddles when they're out in the woods, right, Lyle? Because animals, they travel through these or deer travel through saddles. Well, so do fish. If you can identify a saddle between a couple of humps, there's chances there could be fish there too. 100%. Fish like to hide in weeds and like to feed on gravel. I'm a firm believer in that. They're a lot more active. If you can find fish on mussel beds, if you can find fish on gravel beds or sand beds, a lot of times they're active feeders. And I know it's easier said than done. Keep in mind, if you're on a boat dropping an anchor, you know what the bottom looks like. If you're fishing a body of water, a lot of times take a mental note if you're not putting it in your journal of what type of bottom is where. Transitions are a great place. And if all else fails, once this water starts clearing up, get you some what, Lyle? What kind of glasses we want to use? Polarized 100%. You'd be surprised how much they will reveal that's beneath the water. So
that's right. And they work depending on the clarity of the water, how deep you'll be able to get an advantage of them.
Yeah, I mean, the 3 feet of water can tell you a lot, especially this time of year when they're coming into the shallows, like you said, to
Absolutely.
feed. You'll be able to see them. One of the spots I showed you yesterday on that little tour I gave you was downtown Elgin, Illinois. There's 2 islands right by the library there, and those islands have a lot of boulders around them. You can see them boulders when the water clears up with polarized glasses, and there's always fish behind those boulders. Even if they happen to be smallmouth bass, there's still fish back there.
Right.
So definitely keep that in mind.
That is 100% correct. Polarized glasses, and even the real cheap ones work pretty good. But it's like anything else. If you spend a few dollars more, you can really increase what you can see with polarized glasses. For average, and then just numbers off the top of my head, if there's a pair of glasses at Walmart for $8 and they're polarized sunglasses, and then there's another pair there for 15, those $15 glasses are probably $5 or so more better than the cheap ones. That's just a fact of life anymore. So
Yeah,
bear
and
that in mind.
sunglasses are kind of like optics for hunting.
Ryan,
You get what you pay for.
you clown.
Look at this guy. You get what you pay for. I mean, if you're going to buy a high dollar pair of Costas, you're going to get options like better lenses, better polarization. Mine have readers built into them so I can tie knots without having to take them off.
Who
That
would
being
need
said,
that?
yeah, me and you don't even
Yeah, you're
lie.
right.
But you know, the Walmart pair is definitely going to serve you right if your vision's okay and you
Yeah.
don't mind having to replace them. Those cheaper lenses will get scratched a lot easier. Keep that in mind. Keep them in a case if you got one laying around. That'll keep them from getting damaged rolling around in the
And who
boat.
don't have, if you wear glasses, you got cases later.
You do, you got them around. So just keep that in mind. Let's see what Josh says here. You have to give Lyle credit. He had to learn fishing himself since he couldn't find anyone else older than him to learn from.
That's not true. That's not true. That's not true.
And look at this. You want to read that one, Lyle? Because I'm too humble.
One reason I love watching all of you guys on YouTube is to learn so much every day. That's awesome. That is the entire reason we started Catfish Weekly, was to help people catch more fish. And Mark and I decided that we wanted to do the same thing for people that wanted to catch panfish. So that's why we're here this way. And I know Mark does the same thing I do. If I see somebody struggling out on the bank, I'm going to try to help them figure out how they can do better. If they ask me, I will tell them, unless they're really struggling and I'm really, like they're on one side of the walkway and I'm on the other side. I try not to interfere in what they're doing, but if they want to catch fish, I will always try to help them. And Mark, I can't tell you how many jigs and stuff I give away every year, and I don't mind doing it because
Same here.
them folks will catch fish on them and think, well, man, he really did help me. And just like the lady showed up tonight, she's in our show because we talked on that dock, or by the dock.
You know, that being said, too, this happened last year to me. I was fishing for walleye. I was pulling crankbaits on the river, and I was catching some little ones. And a guy pulled up next to me. He's like, "Hey, so how's fishing doing?" And I'm always I'll have a conversation with anybody else on the water. I'm not that guy. He's like, "How you doing?" We talked a little bit, and he gave me some information, gave me some other spots. So they're not just always trying to get your spots to fish. A lot of times, people just want to share their knowledge base with you. They want to become, acquainted with you on the water, which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
If you ever get stranded, you're going to want to have that network on the water. So,
absolutely.
Share. You ain't got to share everything, as far as fishing spots go, but there's no harm in this guy telling me that, the crankbaits only work X time of the month. So I don't know what else to say, which was some really good information. So
a lot of times people won't ask you where you're fishing. They'll ask you what depth you're fishing at. or what kind of structure you're fishing. And it doesn't hurt to say, hey, they're on rocks or they're around wood or whatever the case may be, or
Mhm.
they're at I'm catching them a 3 count below the surface, or they're 10 feet down. Whatever the case may be, it doesn't hurt to tell them that because they still don't know where you're catching them, but you've helped them have an opportunity to do better.
You pick up clues and you give clues of where those, not purposely, but where those fish are going to be at in that 10% of the water. Plain and
Right.
simple. I don't know how else to say it.
Butterflies and sunshine, welcome.
Hi, Linda. How you doing? Josh says, my grandpa always said, if you're not going to use your head, you might as well have an ass on both ends. I agree. What's up, Brian B? How you doing, brother? Greg says, Mark, I used to get the Bill Dance clip-ons polarized. They worked great. If you lost them, it didn't hurt you so much. There you go.
Right.
And then Brian says, I was out on the Fox River, asked Mark where he was headed. He flipped me off and hit the gas.
I find that hard to believe. I really do.
Josh says, I had a guy come up as I was catching crappie from the boat. He offered me 2 or 3 he had and said he'd really struggled. So I gave him a bunch of hand ties. Good job.
Very nice. You know, I learned something today about that place I've been fishing, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
The gentleman that I was visiting with there today that I had visited with before, he got in trouble over there for giving fish to somebody. The regulations on that particular lake, and I don't know what all lakes this pertains to, it's not statewide, but you cannot give somebody a fish while you're fishing there. You have to take it off property to give them fish.
Well,
He got a fine for it.
I can kind of let's take a guess at why they do that. Let's say you're fishing over there and you're having a gangbuster day and someone just pulls up and you want him to hold 10 fish for you so you can catch 10 more.
That's exactly
That's kind of understandable. Those kind of situations are kind of hard to avoid. So
right.
Follow the rules and you won't get in trouble. Try to circumvent them. You're gonna have to pay the price sometimes if you get caught. So.
That's right. But I was shocked at that.
Yeah, now back real quick. I'm looking at the time here. Let's go. I want to go over a couple more things that I like to look for. We talked obviously, the bank and like land structures, obviously. Some of them being points. Points are always good. Now, I like fishing points because they usually extend into the body of water. So if you have a rocky point on whether it's a lake or a river, chances are if you head straight out from that, you're going to have some sort of shoal. Again, we compared fish traveling through saddles like deer traveling through saddles. Well, they'll park up on the back of a rocky point to get out of the current and to ambush minnows, ambush prey, obviously. Islands are a good thing. It's the same thing. Back when islands usually washed out or not washed out, it's either a hump or they can hide behind said hump and chances are there's fish there. Islands are a good place. A lot of times on lakes they'll have shoals or reefs behind them or between if they're multiple islands. Those are always good places to fish 100%. Granted, there's the times where fish are suspended and such, but when they're not, they're going to be in those kind of situations. At least that's what I'm finding to be true.
I agree 100%. I hope that the weather is good Saturday too. I have a grandson going to do some trap shooting, and he's on the FFA trap team, and I kind of like to watch.
I'm trying to think what else I look for. In the hot days of summer, I look for shade, Lyle. Under docks, obviously, that's always a good spot. Then panfish, they like the crappie like shade, sunfish or sunfish. So you might want to fish in a little sunnier spot, but that's not to say that on the really hot days they're not going to be in the shade either. So underneath trees, inside the weeds, you got floating weeds. A lot of times there's fish hiding under floating weeds too. Keep that in mind. Trying trying to think if there's any other thing that I'm missing. Obviously, seams, Lyle. Seams are a big thing when there's current.
Yes.
Seams, fish seams. Keep an eye out on the seams. Look for foam on the
Drop
water.
off. Yeah.
Drop offs if you can tell the difference. If you got those polarized glasses and you can't see, you can see from the bank, and then all of a sudden the bottom disappears, chances are that's a drop off. Keep that in mind. Fish that drop off. That's a good one to start. So I'm going to read that. Justin,
I'm not touching it.
It was so hot a few weeks ago. I almost broke down and called my ex-wife just so I could be around something shady.
Yeah, the
And
Cardinals are
wants to
losing
know-
almost every game, but it's okay. They're still the St. Louis Cardinals, and they're the greatest there is.
Aren't the Cubs a wild card team in the playoff?
They're in. They're in the
They're
playoffs. I don't know. I haven't kept up with it. I really, honest to God, I haven't. I don't have the ability to watch the Cardinals, so I haven't kept up with them.
I'm going to send you a link after the show that you'll be able to watch the Cardinals on there, Lyle.
That would be just outstanding.
I can do that for you.
I do.
If I remember, Brian B. Brian, if you're still in chat, send me the link to that site. What's going on, Jeff Beal? How you doing? I forget what the name of it is.
Hey, Jeff.
I think that covers a lot of the things that I wanted to talk about. We talked about structure hanging in the river. Obviously, docks are structure. Weeds are a type of structure. Shade is even a structure.
Yeah.
Basically, it's all structure. Points are structure. Shoals are structure. Saddles are structure. Washouts, temperature. If you know where there's colder water coming in, a lot of times that's a good place in the summer. Warmer water in the winter. Water that's coming in off a drain pipe off roads, that's a lot warmer in the winter than the water in the river. That's always been pretty productive for me as well.
Yep.
Things like that. Big water. Hey, what's up, Buggy? Big water, like on Lake Michigan. You look where the clean water meets the dirty water. A lot of times there's fish hiding right on the edge of that dirty water to ambush fish in the clean water, clear water.
And for people who don't know what you can see where if you have a creek and it's draining in there and it's been raining and it's muddy water and the lake is not, there'll be a line where the muddy water meets the clean water. That's what Mark's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
If you see that, fish it. There's going to be something in there because that creek's washing a bunch of stuff out. When it hits that other water, it stops, and whatever's there is falling down, and whatever's in there is going to eat something. It's just that simple.
We didn't even get into stuff like keep track of the wind in your head. If not, buy yourself a windy app if you can. Yep. Fish the last 2 days wind. That's always a good one. Definitely in the spring. I like fishing the greener banks on the greener side of the lake or river because that gets more sun during the day. A lot of times fish will be there. Things like that you'll all learn over time. So hopefully us sharing some of this stuff today will help you get on some fish without having to buy a ton of electronics.
Exactly. There's one other thing I'm going to pass on that I've noticed in the last few weeks. I like getting out early and going to catch these crappie. I really do. When you get there, if it's right about daylight, or even if it's after daylight, if it's cloudy and the fishing's slow and the sun pops up and gets real bright, the fishing business has picked up for me in the bright sunlight versus the cloudy time. Now, that doesn't mean that if a cloud cover comes over that they stop biting. It doesn't mean that at all because they'll continue to bite a lot of times. But if they're slow biting, and I don't know if the water warms up or if it's just they can see things better. But when that sun pops out and gets real bright over these areas, it's really been hot for me.
Notice things like that. There's a perfect example of how you learn as time goes on. So
that's something I didn't pick up on.
You're not going to know everything right off the bat. Like we said earlier, be willing to learn, keep your mind open, and don't think you know it all, because you probably don't. You know, I got another saying I'm going to share with everybody. When I was 18 years old, Lyle, I knew it all. I've been forgetting it ever since. So
That's right. 100%, man. I agree.
Greg Burgess will read his comment, the last one tonight. Says, Mark down here, the river changes daily. You have to learn to read it most of the time. It will tell you where the fish are. 100%.
That is great. That's a great thing.
Build your
If you
knowledge
can't
base.
read water, you electronics will help you, but it'll never make you the greatest fisherman unless you can figure that water out. It
Yep,
just
keep
helps
track,
so much.
keep
Thank
track of
you,
the
Joe
weather.
Buck. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you, Joe Buck, very much. Rising water, I always do better with rising water than I do with dropping water. So keep that in mind. Keep the weather in the back of your head when you're doing that. Weather history, if you can find that online somewhere too, that can't hurt as well. So you got anything else, Lyle?
Yep, I sure do. Mark, I remember on Catfish Weekly, several times I've discussed log books.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought they was a great idea. I always didn't use one. This year, I have kept track of conditions, where I fished, and how many fish I caught, what kind of fish I caught, and a variety of other things. I'm going to work to try to get a deal to where it's more suited to me than what I'm using. Folks, if you don't think that will make a difference, you're badly mistaken, because you can go back and look and say, hey, on this day, the weather was like this. This is where I caught them. This is what I was using. And it worked that day. I'm going to start there and go the next time. So it seems like it's a hassle to do that, but it's really not. It takes about 10 minutes or less than that, probably 5 minutes to fill out 2 pages of stuff that I fill out, because the book that I'm using is actually made for catfish, and I've adapted it to crappie and catfish and bluegill and whatever else that I'm fishing for. But I'm going to try to come up with one that better suits my needs. But keep track of the numbers you catch, what you catch them on, the colors, the condition, whether it's sunny or cloudy, all that you can go back and reflect on the next time you go fishing. If the conditions are the same stuff probably is a good place to start.
Couldn't agree more.
Thanks everybody for watching Panfish Nation. We appreciate each and every one of you. If you haven't hit the thumbs up, please do so before you leave. And if you care to, you can like and subscribe or join our club down at the bottom. We'd love to have you.
100%. Real quick, Bugman, hello. Mike Urban, how you doing, bud? I want to make sure we didn't miss anybody. Have a great night, guys. Get out, go fishing. You don't need to stay home and watch like the crap that's going on in the world. Avoid it if you can. All right, have a great one, everybody.